Hi, everyone, and welcome to Houston Refocused. I'm your host, Roger Palomino. As you can see, we're standing in front of the AMC Theater in Dunville. We're here to celebrate the 50th annual Worldfest International Independent Film Festival. That's right, they're going to celebrate their 50th year. We're going to talk to some of the directors, producers, and actors that flew into the city to tell us their experiences in making their films. So let's check out what they have to say. And I'm here at Worldfest at AMC Dunville here in Houston, Texas, with the director of The Things We've Seen, Trey Manchester. So, welcome to Houston.
Thank you. Love being here. It's great.
Yeah, you bet. So, tell us about your film.
So the movie's called The Things We've Seen, and it's about a boy who goes off in search of his fugitive father in sort of a Midwest town that's struggling to survive.
Okay, excellent. So, with this film festival here being held in Houston, is this your first trip to Houston?
It is, yeah. This is our first trip to Texas in general, so nice excuse to come out here. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what makes Texas unique and interesting compared to like other parts of the United States?
Yeah, the cultural experience that we've had so far is pretty great. It's diverse. There's a lot of Chinese filmmakers here this year being represented, so that's really exciting to see. So yeah, I don't know. It's the Southern hospitality, but then again, like I said, culturally, it's pretty different than what we've experienced so far. So that's a bonus.
Yeah, well, as you may or may not have heard, they're trying to work really hard to bring incentives to Houston, to Texas particularly, the whole state. But what is it about Houston, do you feel, as a filmmaker, that might make it unique for you to come here and film one day?
That's a great question. Obviously incentives play a big part, but, I think in general, just that inviting atmosphere, having good people to work with, whether that's from a crew level or even just the community supporting a movie, that's a big thing that we experience making The Things We've Seen. So I think all those elements tied together would make Houston a really great place to make movies.
Okay, so in addition to being here for your film, what other projects do you have coming up in the future?
So I just finished a script for a new feature film that we are hoping to get off the ground and shoot next summer. Still trying to get cast and crew on board for that, but it should be exciting. It looks like it'll not only be a bigger project, but a little more in depth in terms of budget and what we get to play with. So this should be fun.
Okay, excellent. Well, we were just talking to Trey Manchester, the director of The Things We've Seen.
Mill caught a fire. I go to bed, wake up next morning, my face plastered all over this town. Till that point, I was innocent.
Pick up your rifles.
Innocence, not the word I'd use.
Walk away, just like your father.
I'm trying to make things right.
I'm bringing him home.
Them boys, what's your plan for them?
You want me to turn him in?
Did he say anything at all before he left?
Why chase him?
All I ever wanted was to wake up, and he'd still be there.
Now we've seen too much.
And I'm here with actor Meyer from the film The Things We've Seen. And tell us about your portrayal in this film.
All right, so I play the oldest son of the family. Reagan Boehm is the name of the character, and basically his whole entire mission of the whole entire story is, he never had a father figure in his life. He had that. He was really craving that, that father figure in his life because his father, left his life at a very young age. So basically, the whole entire arc of the film is that he finds out his father is a fugitive. This is the very first time he's ever heard of his father. So he wants to go out and search for his fugitive father and bring him back home to try to clear the family name and ultimately heal the family and become one big family again. So.
Right, and with all of that going on between your characters, I know with different actors, there's so many different methods out there. What for you was your preparation like for this role?
Well, what's really neat about this is this is my very first feature film. This is my very first project, so it was all a learning experience trying to figure out everything because coming from a theater background, film and theater is very different. So, I work closely with Trey Manchester, the director, and the crew members, to really dive into my character, find out what's his wants and really what is his character and just ultimately how to deliver it so you can tell the story on the screen. So I really liked method acting a lot, but just trying out everything to just to create the character and everything. So just trying it was all a learning experience, which was an amazing experience just to find out because it was just amazing.
Right. So, you touched on a lot of interesting topics and notes as far as like coming from a theater background and the differences between theater and film. What is it about theater that you feel personally as an actor has helped you prepare for film?
I would say, theater is, like I said, theater lays the groundwork for everything. It's all about, creating everything bigger than life and making everything and, diving into unique characters. So, of course, taking that into this new environment of film acting and working close with Trey Manchester, who has very credible work to him. So it was, a work in progress, just to figure out transitioning from theater to film. So it was just all basically a learning experience, and we got the job done.
Yeah, and with this being your first trip to Houston, what other opportunities do you have to come to this part of the United States for film or for any project?
Right now, just looking for all projects. I just found out recently that I'm actually nominated for a Rising Star for this festival, so I'm extremely honored and humbled from that, and that that's just amazing. It's got me all in awe because it's just all amazing. But actually, this past August too, we just had a show. Amazon released a show about Hugh Hefner's life. It's called American Playboy, a Hugh Hefner story, and I actually had the opportunity to travel down to New Zealand this past August to portray him as a small featured role of Hugh Hefner as a teenager. So that just came out here this past month, so it's been amazing.
Yeah, well, congratulations on the nomination at this festival, and welcome to Houston.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for having us.
And I'm here at Worldfest 2017 in Houston, Texas with Mark Huberman, who was involved with the great documentary called All Things Bakelite. So tell us about this documentary and your involvement in it.
Sure, Roger. Thank you. I'm Mark Huberman, the media manager for All Things Bakelite. And we're here screening our film at Worldfest to tell the story about Leo Baekeland, who invented the world's first synthetic plastic in 1907. And we're really excited to share that, be here, and win a Remy Award. Tell the story.
Absolutely. So, one thing I enjoyed about the documentary, too, is you touch a lot on the history of science and the history of the Bakelite plastic. And also, you were part of it as well as the flamenco performers. So tell us about that.
Oh, that was an exciting opportunity. Yes, there were some products made out of Bakelite, thousands of products actually made out of Bakelite. One of them were castanets. So there was a scene with a classical flamenco dancer, and they needed a scene with flamenco guitar. So I learned a piece, and we played with the Bakelite castanets and me on the flamenco guitar.
Yeah, and what really, I guess, captivated a lot of the audience, too, is because by hearing their applause, too, and the reaction, is interjecting also vaudeville performers in parts of history and footage of history in the United States. Tell us about that.
Oh, sure. We were excited to have met Esther's Follies out of the Austin area. Jeffrey Meikle had hooked us up through the University of Texas. And what's nice is we have these little breaks, these little vignettes that break away from the film, talking about the science, talking about the the chemistry, and really just we have these wonderful little parodies, musical parodies. So that's what you got to see.
What is Bakelite?
Everywhere you look, you have plastics.
Plastic is something that we have made.
Plastics is both the finest and the worst expression of humankind.
The promise of plastic has always been that we can mold, make, or create anything we can envision.
This is the first synthetic compound created by man, a phenolic resin, the beginnings of the fourth kingdom on Earth. This is the world's first synthetic material, Bakelite, the very first plastic. One summer night in 1907, this material settled in a test tube in my great-grandfather's laboratory.
It's a story about a man who had a lot of tenacity.
Extreme stubbornness.
He's a little eccentric.
Leo Baekeland really stands at the forefront of polymer chemistry.
Leo Baekeland was one of the new breed of scientists. Other people saw a wall. Leo looked at the same wall and essentially leaned against something that turned out to be a doorway to a wide open world.
It's the latest thing, it's all the rage. Let's sing the praises of the polymer age.
Bakelite was the first real molding material from which one could make virtually any shape one desired, because it could be molded in smooth, flowing molds that yielded objects that themselves were smooth, flowing, gleaming, and seamless.
So Bakelite provided an open-ended play field for American designers. Bakelite invited industrial designers to think outside the box.
This is a Bakelite guitar made in 1940, a Rickenbacker.
This was the beginning of industrial design and mass consumption.
Being able to mass produce at speed and low cost, Bakelite had no equal.
He was in the right place at the right time. America in the age of invention. It seems invisible, but it's all around us. When he created Bakelite, he opened a Pandora's box, and it was made of plastic.
A world without Bakelite would require an alternate universe.
Plastic has promised that we can mold, make, or create anything we can envision.
And I'm here at Worldfest 2017 in Houston, Texas at the AMC Dunville with Sasha Sibley for his short 13. So congratulations on getting the Platinum Remy Award. You bet. So tell us a little bit about your film.
Yeah, so it's a short film. It's about an agent who gets captured by ISIS, and she's being interrogated and tortured. And then at one point, the ISIS soldiers have to leave to go outside and fight the Kurds. And so they leave behind one boy to watch her. And it turns out this boy is 13 years old, and this kind of sparks a dialogue between the two of them. And that's the film. It's that dialogue, really, between this young boy who's fighting, and he doesn't really know why he's fighting, and this more mature but female operative who's in there to get information. So that's the film.
Okay, excellent. So it's a very clever title. So how did you first come up with this concept for the film, for the short?
Yeah, I was just thinking, that with everything going on in the world and ISIS and just the war, I wanted to tell a story about that, but I wanted it to be unique. I didn't want it to just, I just wanted to find a way to tell a story about that in a different way, and kind of almost, you have this kid who, having a kid kind of play the character, be an ISIS soldier, and almost see his side of the story, but yet realize where he's gone wrong and where, he's ruled by emotions at that age, and he just doesn't really know why he's fighting, but he thinks he does. I wanted to be able to tell that story, and putting, you know, a female operative in there too, who has almost a maternal instinct when she sees this kid for the first time. That was kind of my thinking. I thought it would be just a really interesting dynamic to have these two characters instead of, you know, for example, two grown men just going back and forth. I just didn't think it would be able to tell the same story.
Okay, so you have the key players set in motion for the film. How did you first come about deciding that you were going to submit this to Worldfest here in Houston?
You know, I've been hearing about this festival for years. I think I've actually submitted some previous films to this festival, but I didn't get in. But I finally did get in, and it's just been amazing. So yeah, I knew about Worldfest, and I, you know, submitted along with several others. But this was definitely, you know, one of my top ones that I wanted to get into.
Is that what you want? You want to be a killer? Really think about it, because once you've done it, it's not what you think. It doesn't feel good. It feels empty. You don't want that life. You don't want to be a part of this war.
The war is my life.
I don't understand, kid. You act like you don't have any choice.
You couldn't understand. You could never understand.
It's always a choice.
My mother and father were killed 3 years ago. I watched them murdered by someone like you. I watched as you people destroyed my home, destroyed everything. Tell me, how can I get away from that?
And I'm here at Worldfest 2017 at the AMC Dunville Theater with Yasser Masood for his film The Hunt. And tell us what your film is about.
Yeah, so essentially my movie's about the story of my grandfather, of when he immigrated over here to the United States. And it's essentially about, like, he used to work at a gas station. It's kind of the first step for, like, a bunch of people that come from South Asia, you know, for work and things like that. And while he was working, he essentially got robbed and got, you know, robbed at gunpoint and got shot in the head. And what essentially happens is he kind of uses his past to sort of formulate a way in order to survive and, like, stay conscious and things like that.
Wow. So a story that's close to heart because of, you know, it happening to your family member. So tell us about what that filmmaking experience was like as far as, like, casting.
Yeah, in terms of casting, what I ended up doing, like, I'm sure a lot of other filmmakers have said the same thing, but, like, kind of at our level, you wear a ton of hats. And so essentially what I did is I casted myself as the protagonist and then sort of filled it up with, like, people that I knew. I actually used my real brothers for brothers who aren't, like, necessarily traditional actors. And then my director, Kwok-Win, like, did a really great job of, you know, getting them up to speed and getting them watchable and things like that in order to make, like, you know, essentially some very good natural performances with, like, good chemistry and things like that.
Yeah, very important things to have on a set. Now, you mentioned earlier to me that you're originally from Austin. What is it that makes Houston to you as an Austin filmmaker interesting or appealing?
Right. So I'm actually from Houston, but yeah. So I do work and make movies in Austin, and you know, in terms of Houston, like, this is kind of the root of I think real life, right? I think Austin is kind of somewhere where, like, young people can go to create and young people sort of escape to, you know, become filmmakers and work and things like that. But I think at the root of it, the real narratives, I think, are here because it's so diverse. Because, like, because you essentially have a lot of people that are kind of almost like marginalized and things like that in Houston. So I think it's a great place to sort of like find your narratives, and then as well as like a great place to start off like for filmmaking, especially with Worldfest. Like I heard about a filmmaker from India. He got a essentially like a deal with Warner Brothers starting off here, and so I thought that was pretty exciting and kind of like you can't ask for much more starting off as a filmmaker. So.
And I'm here at Worldfest at AMC Dunville with David Melendez. He's the co-writer and producer of One Penny. So that was an amazing film. So tell me about the film itself.
Sure. One Penny is about a homeless teen who strives to become more. But in order to do so, he must face his past.
Yeah, and so one thing I found interesting about this film is the location and where it was filmed. So tell me how that process was like.
Sure. We're from the Washington, D.C. area, and it was important for us to make a film locally. So the scenes that you saw were from Washington, D.C., or a combo of D.C. and Maryland. I guess the location you're probably interested in is the Cove, which was 20 minutes outside of Baltimore. It was owned by a developer, old hospital, and he allowed us to build that tent city and leave it there for 3 months, which was huge. But also being an indie producer, it was important for us to have many locations. We didn't want to stick to 5 locations, something typical that's in our budget or price range. We had 30 locations. It was a 40-day shoot, and we wanted to make it as rich as possible. So locations were really big for us.
Yeah, and as co-writer for this, I'm sure you had a lot in your mind as far as like what you wanted it to look like and the characters you had in mind. So how was the casting like for this project?
Casting, we did a initial casting in New York. It was a ultra low budget, so we had access to SAG actors, union actors. Very important to just have that pool. But it was also important for us to cast locally as well. So we're in Houston, but when we did our premiere in DC, we got a lot of kudos because a lot of the audience members knew who was in the movie. So it was really great. It was a great experience. And it's showing that we have talent. It's showing that not only can we shoot a film, but we can act, we can grip, we can DP, we can do all those things. So, yeah.
Right. And as far as like the chemistry of the actors, like how important was that initially in the casting?
Very important because Mike and I, we studied script writing, and we knew that not only did we want to make a beautiful film, we also wanted to make an inspirational, meaningful film. And in order to do that, you have to have the cast. You have to have the characters that understand each other. And we wanted to have a movie where you can watch the film and relate to one of the characters. So you could relate to, I was just talking to a gentleman that said, the middle-aged people will like Professor. The underdog would like Dylan. The sidekick would like Colin. There are just so many characters to go around, and that was the beauty of it. Just developing the characters, making them, explaining them to the actors, and they do their magic. It's not just us. There were things in that movie that we didn't create. They created on their own in the hotel, and they came to, I'm the producer, Mike's the director. They came to us and said, hey, do you mind if we create this? We're thinking the backstory is that. So it was a great experience.
You want to know if he killed her?
Do you ever want more?
I mean, I don't want to live in the Cove my whole life.
Gotta get the professor out. What if he doesn't want to get out? I had this idea. All right, fire up.
Said he's a real psychopath. Apparently he killed his own brother.
Could you tell me a little bit about the professor?
No man goes from a tenured professor to being on the street without some skeletons in his closet.
like you got all these people to listen to your ideas.
Where you going, buddy? Quickly, come on, stop the car!
Life is simpler that way. Too much buried pain out there.
And I'm here with the producer of We're All Made of Stars, Eric Jones.
How you doing, everybody? Okay, happy Worldfest Day. We're very excited to actually be here on our first premiered film here at Worldfest. So I'm just thrilled to be here today.
Yeah, so tell us how you first got started with this project.
Well, it started in March of 2016. I got a chance to get the script from Gerald Hanks. He's a friend of mine. I've worked with him before. I don't know if you've seen some of our earlier films before with Morningside Media Group. We did Dreamland Murders together. So that was one. You see that probably a lot of rotation, on Houston Media Source. It's a great film. I've enjoyed it. I had such a great experience with him again. He told me he had the script that he was working on. It was like we worked on another project before, but it didn't pan out. So I asked him what other material you have, and he gave me the script, and it's called We're All Made of Stars, and it was wonderful, and I really enjoyed it, and we got a chance to work on the project, and I knew most of the actors. I knew Alec, I knew Catherine, I knew all the and I also knew Scott too, for his reputation. So he's a very, very good, very good actor and also a very good director too. So he's really good. So we were able to work on it for about took us maybe about 5 days to work on it. We had like maybe 2 days of pickup shots here and there, and it was a good pleasure. And I really loved working with my sister Lee, who's my producing partner. And Lee is great. I love working with her every time she's been my lifetime creative spirit, so we've always been doing things together. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. So it's a really good project, and I really like the response of the people when they came and saw it. So that's really good to actually see it, and actually in a real, big theater like that, big stadium theater. So that's a lot of fun to see.
Yeah, you got a lot of audience response to this film. So how was casting like for you as a producer for the film?
Well, usually my approach to casting is basically, my approach is usually I cast. I don't just do the traditional casting call. What I do is I go to other films or go to theater productions, and I just sit there and I watch. I observe. I see the talent. I see the if they have any craft, or they have anything that certain spark that they that maybe. Right. So, and me and my sister, we go up there, we compare notes. To, okay, we like her. No, I don't like him. Let's try this person. And we just go ahead and just give a email and a phone conversation and say, hey, we saw you. We really like what you do. Would you like to be a part of this movie? So that's how I was able to meet up with Catherine Rose, and I get a lot of great recommendations from other great artists. So especially from people that I've seen over the years, and they're wonderful. I mean, I was very happy to. Have them a part of our group. So especially with Catherine and Scott, and with Alec, it's like, my God, what a great combination they were. So it was easy just to work with just those three actors. It was easy, and I think that Brandon did a really good job just putting them together, and the material was very easy for them, to work on.
And we're here at the AMC Dunville Theater for Worldfest, and I'm here with actor Alec Mazurek. He played a role in We're All Made of Stars, so tell us about the character you played.
Well, Ben is a very interesting character. He kind of has a disconnect towards people around him, and so he can't really, show his emotions, and he's more in his own world. So it's very interesting. I loved playing Ben because the older version of myself, played by Scott Frank, Big Ben, has a almost like an opposite character. So if you think into the story, we kind of like switch almost, like our character and our personalities, as he has life experience and I lack that because I'm secluded in my own world, as I said prior. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, so it sounds to me like you had a lot of preparation as an actor, and especially for this film. What kind of training did you get for this film?
Well, we actually shot the film one time before, but it didn't go so well. So we got together with Eric and Brandon, and we got to shoot it again, which was amazing because it came out amazing the second time.
Okay, well, you as a performer and an actor here in Houston, how do you prepare for a role, and what training have you had, if any?
Well, let's see. I go to acting coaches. John Lanch, he's great, phenomenal coach. So if you got to go anywhere for a coach, go to John Lanch. Sorry, I joked there. Just acting coaches around, mainly John Lanch. He's been teaching me for 4 years. So yeah, I have to give him some notoriety because he formed me as an actor,
Yeah, well, that's great. So what other projects do you have coming up after this?
I got a project in the works with Eric and Brandon again. We got to keep it a little under the water, but it'll be good.
Thank you for watching Houston Refocused and the coverage of Worldfest International Independent Film Festival for 2017. If you're a community organization or a nonprofit organization and you would like to be highlighted on the program, you may reach me at rpalomino@hmstv.org. From the City of Houston, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.